Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to the first episode of Parenting in Focus, the helicopter parenting. Today, we'll be exploring the world of parenting, where love sometimes turns into control and protection into overprotection. Together, we will discover how the helicopter parenting affects our children's confidence, independence, and future. I am your host, Amina Kath Yahya, and joining us this morning is a distinguished guest, Alhaji Ibrahim Yabagi Alfa. He is a retired registrar of the Niger State College of Education, and I must add, retired but certainly not tired. He is a seasoned lecturer, a mentor, and a father, and he is currently a staff of the Liaison Service Department of the Islamic Education Trust, IET, MENA. You're welcome, sir.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Today we are going to start with the basics. We're going to look at what helicopter parenting is, how it started, and why so many parents fall into it without even realizing. So my first question to you, Alhaji Ibrahim, is this. What exactly is helicopter parenting, and how did the term originate?
Well, alhamdulillah, before we define what helicopter parenting is, let us even discuss what is parenting. Parenting is a process where parents use in raising, in nurturing, in supporting and guiding their children from birth to adulthood. And the essence of this is because they want their children to grow healthier, they want them to grow responsible, they want them to grow emotionally balanced and independent individual. That is what they do. So this is generally what parenting it is. But then you find that the term helicopter parenting comes from the word helicopter. Of course, helicopter is an aircraft. Normally when it flies, it hovers around. Sometimes it can stand still and then continue to focus on one area. Hovering around that would allow people not to move. So that is where the term now emanates. Helicopter parenting is where parents extremely or excessively involved in their children's activities. They hover around them like helicopter, and they constantly monitor their activities, they constantly control their activities, their decisions, and even problems. So this is exactly what helicopter parenting implies, because they don't allow them to move, they hover around them like helicopter, involving in all the children's activities, whether decisions, whether problems. Now, this term normally emanates in the 1960s, where teenagers, when they started, they were discussing, because they found that the parents, of course, were so much engaged in their activities. Say, well, look at our parents hovering around us like a helicopter. That is where the term really emanates. But in the year 2000, psychologists began to study that it's very important to study that. They start studying how parents overprotect their children. And when this happens, definitely it affects their independence and it affects their development. So this is where helicopter parenting really implies, yes. Normally parents hovering their children's activities, their decisions, all what they do. Allow them to give them a breathing space. This is helicopter parenting.
MashaAllah, that is very interesting. I love the way you explain the hovering idea. Because that is exactly what a lot of parents do. They hover over their children's life. The first time I actually came across the term helicopter parenting, I have a very active imagination. I actually imagined a mommy and a daddy standing above the child, and then their hands as rotors actually going round and round. I imagine how overwhelming it can actually be.
That's true.
Imagine having a helicopter. The presence is very, very, very will be very overwhelming for the child.
That's very true.
Okay, so now that we understand what helicopter parenting is, I would want you to tell us some of the common signs that a parent is actually or might actually be a helicopter parent.
Yes, there are some signs that we have to observe. Number one is that they constantly control their children's activities. They're almost controlling, almost every time. They don't give the child a breathing space. What really happens is that because they don't trust the child, they feel that, well, that is just the best way to do that. So that's one sign. Whatever the child is going to do, parents are always in constant control. So this creates a problem. So they hover around them like a helicopter. That is one sign. The second sign is that they even take decisions for their children, even over small things. Nobody is saying that parents shouldn't take decisions. But there are better ways of taking decisions. When you want to take decision, call your child and then let you discuss. But some parents don't do that. What they do is that they immediately they take decision, even in terms of hobbies, even in terms of friends that they want to make. So this creates a lot of problems, even in terms of study. So they really completely, they are the one controlling their child in this very aspect, this decision that they make. And thirdly, you find out, sometimes you find that these parents have a lot of expectations for their children. This is one problem. High expectations. They always have high expectation for their children. So they control their children in this very aspect, meaning that they try as much as possible to solve their problems for them. Even problems that children can make, they don't want their children to make mistakes. So they don't give the opportunity. So they try as much as possible to solve their problems for them. This creates a lot of problems. Instead of allowing them to solve their problem where mistake. Normally, everybody makes mistake. It's only when out of mistake that you can learn. But the parents don't do that. And that's why we say they are more like helicopter. Continue pressing on their children so that they don't make mistakes. So this creates a lot of problems for the children. Then you find that they set, like we said, high standards. Very high standards. That's what some parents do. So because of that, because they have set high standards for their children, they want their children to meet that high standard by all means. This is, of course, they don't understand there are individual differences. We are not saying that standards should not be set. That's not. But then in some particular type of parenting is too much. So by the time, of course, the things are not going as planned, the parents are anxious, they are disturbed. And that is why they continue to pressure this very child. And this becomes a problem. And that's why those teenagers say, our parents are really over. And yes, we have our expectations, but there are better ways that we can achieve those expectations because of the individual differences. But some parents didn't know that. This is my expectation, there is high expectation, and therefore expect it to be met. Once it is not going as planned, the parents become so disturbed. And at the end of it, of course, they bounce it on the children. So this creates a lot of problems. And lastly, you find out, well, sometimes, like we've said earlier on, you send us they don't give the child some space, no space at all. This creates a lot of problems. Because you don't give a child space, he needs some space where he can breathe, he needs a space where he can use his own intelligence, he can use space where he can, so parents don't give that. So this creates a lot of problems for the children.
And there are children that actually have a lot of potential
that
in
is
them.
It.
But because the parents actually guide towards a particular without even consulting the child.
That's it.
Those potential gets lost.
That's true. There are so many parents like that. Those potential got lost completely. Yes. That's why we say.
And if you realize, if you discover, you notice that most parents, it's their own dreams.
Yes.
That they want the children to achieve.
Exactly. That's why we say this helicopter throws it on the children.
And expect the child to actually.
So many parents do that. So many, especially among the educated elites. I am a lawyer, so I want my child to become a lawyer. It becomes a problem. So high expectation for that.
Or someone that wanted to be a pilot was not able to achieve the dream. He wants the child
that's it. So this creates a lot of problems for the children. And that's why, of course, the teenagers, when they start, they say, why should our parents? Even till today, when you feel some use, they will start to say, this is what my father wants me to do or my mother. But then I don't have interest in that. So this becomes a problem if we're at home. So that's why we said sometimes they even take decisions for their children, which is supposed not to be so. And this is exactly what we call helicopter parenting.
So in essence, you are saying it is parents not trusting their children to take decisions.
Yes, that's why
they take the decision on their behalf.
Exactly. Sometimes.
And then at the end, it ends up giving the child deficiency in decision
making. That is true. That's true. Even to solve problems, they go about solving the child's problems. They don't allow the child to even solve problems by himself. Even minor problems. There are things even outside in the neighborhood, the child has a problem. The parents rush there to solve the problem. Why not? Why should you do that as parents?
I'm sure this creates overdependence.
That is the term.
With time, the child becomes
completely. That's it. That is the term. Yes, because in psychology we have discovered that such type of parents, if care is not taken, if it's a male child and he becomes adult and even has a wife, even if he wants to take decision between him and his wife, he will go back to the parents. He will go dependent. So dependent, yes. That's it. Exactly. So that's the problem with this helicopter parenting. Nobody is saying that parents shouldn't control, but then there is a limit to what you can do. There are better ways to do it. In Islam, we say there is hikmah, there's wisdom in better way. But if you impress it on the child, then you become a helicopter monitoring your child, and it becomes a problem.
Seriously. This is very, very interesting. That is so true. Now, while you were listing those signs, I'm sure a lot of parents watching were actually checking themselves mentally. Because I know I was.
That's it.
When you were listing signs. I was like, okay, I have this.
Yes.
I don't have this.
Yes.
Because at times, some of these parents do it without
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
that they are being
Exactly.
So, which brings us to the why.
Okay.
Why do you think parents actually feel the need to control every aspect of their child's life? What informs that behavior?
One aspect is the love. Too much love for the child. There's that love. Parents love their children. So much love, especially I'm sorry for the mothers. So much love their children. Because out of this love, they say, let me continue to control because of the love that I have for the child. Some again out of fear. I don't want my child to enter this very problem. That is it. So these two things, normally. Once there is love, and the love is an excessive love, the parents don't want the child to suffer a little bit. So this becomes a problem. And that is why in anything that they do, they hover over them. Then again, there's that fear too. I fear, we are afraid because this will happen, this will happen to the child. Well, if a child plays, of course, definitely he can get himself injured, but from that he will learn from that. But some parents don't want that. That is why even simple playing with the kids, whether it's with his colleagues, with his mates, becomes a problem for the parents. So that's why you find out someone say, come in. And the moment he's going out, he come inside. These are the problem. Always sitting with a child. So that's one problem. So that is one effect that is out on the child. That's one reason why they do that. Secondly, you find out, they want to protect their children from making mistakes, like I've said, from failure. They don't want failure. They don't want failure at all. But I said, we find out it is when you fall, and that is done, you pick up and move ahead. That's how it is. That's how life is. Normally, people learn from their failures. All people that you see that are great today, definitely you find out it is when they fail, they make the guess from the mistake, then they move forward. But some of the parents don't want that. So because of that fear of failure and disappointment, so they continue to hover. Those are the reasons. They continue to hover over their children. I don't want you to fail. I don't want you to fail. And then you find out these are the problems. So this creates a lot of problems for the child because the child felt that I'm becoming too much. This is becoming a problem. Even teachers sometimes, their children will fail. That's why you find that in developed countries, when you fail, you find that it's a better way, of course, of picking you up. Yes. That's how it is. So, but the parents feel that I don't want failure, I don't want disappointment. And because of this, you find that they continue to press hard on the children. So this becomes a problem. Then there's a social pressure, especially now. Social pressure in the sense that sometimes parents are judged according to the success of their children. This is where the problem comes. So especially now, that in the modern world that we are today, you find out, look at his father, now he's a medical doctor. Well, look at his child. Probably he's a musician. That creates a problem. So there's pressure on the parent.
To produce
perfect. Thank you. So it's not possible. So this, because of this social pressure on the parents too, parents were told, yes, I want you to become this. They over control the child. So this becomes a problem. So these are some of the reasons why sometimes parents normally run into that. This social pressure is a bit. Then today they believe that close monitoring. That's what they believe. That close monitoring is what makes the child succeed academically and socially. Nobody said parents shouldn't monitor the children, but then give them a little space. We always say it is very important, especially for children. Like we've said sometimes when I give lecture, you find that when a child becomes a little bit an adolescent and he has a friend, and the friend comes to him, and the father has a car, I say, in front of his friend, I want you to wash this car for me. The child will become, my child is not recognized. After all, I have a friend. He's not recognizing me. That is a type of covering. But then it will have been, you call him outside, you say, you have a friend now. Maybe after your friend have gone, please, my car is dirty, I want you to wash for it. Maybe he will go back to his friend and say, my daddy say, the friend will say, let us wash it together. You can see. But that respect. But then this close marking is becoming a problem. Parents normally feel that it is only when you have a close marking to your children, that's the time they succeed academically. No, it's not the case. That's not the case. Thank you very much.
When you guide
yes,
them,
believe that's why. You see, that's why we say right from when we define our parenting. It's a place when you guide, you nurture, you support your child so that you become good. But here, this time, you are no more guiding him. You are controlling him. Take over, yes. So you find when we define parenting, we didn't say control there. We say it is guide for you to support, to you to raise, to you to nurture. We didn't say control. Exactly, because these are better ways that you use in doing that. But then by the time you come to control here, then already you are becoming a helicopter parent. That's the problem.
Wow. I'm really, really, really learning a lot here, because the first reason you gave was love. And normally, every parent loves their children.
Of course.
But what you're saying in essence is that if you love in moderation.
Exactly.
And then I think is how a lot of parents actually express that love.
That is it.
They express it in excess.
Exactly.
And then the fear also, if your child does not make mistake, he will not learn.
That is it. That is it. That's very true.
So the learning process is just removed.
That's it. That is it. That's the major problem.
And it's as if you are not even allowing them to live their life. You are
living
living
their
their
life for them. That's it. That is it.
That is really
that is very true.
Eye opener. And I hope a lot of parents are really listening to it. We have to reflect inward.
Exactly.
And this social pressure also, especially in
this era,
where the world is just looking.
Exactly.
It's a global world now.
That is it.
Everybody wants to be seen as successful.
Exactly.
And what they used to measure success is different. Now, and what we fail to realize as parents is that what my child has is different from what your child has.
Which is very true.
We're supposed to actually nurture them with their own individual traits.
That is it. That's the mistake.
But we impose something because so person's child is doing exceptionally well. We want our own child to exceed that person's seriously. This
social pressure is really the major problem.
Because it has been existing for a long time, but it is more prominent
now
among parents now. Because I've noticed that even in school settings, like these parents, they don't allow the child to do anything. You give a child homework, and the child actually comes back with the homework handwritten by the parents.
Thank you.
They don't even go through the of actually writing the question, the answer on another separate sheet. Giving the child to write. No,
exactly.
They write it directly in the child's
It's true. That's the problem.
So that is total control.
It's total control. Instead of them to guide the child how to do it.
You explain, okay, this is what
thank you
very
this is
what you're supposed to do.
That is it.
And the child asks you, okay, maybe spell this for me, and then you just guide them.
That is it. That's the social pressure that we have. So it creates a lot of problems. Even that's why you find that some parents, because of social pressure for their children to make money, that's why children go into this even Yahoo thing. This is the problem. Because the social pressure, especially now, people feel that, well, today is no more values, this is what we want. It creates a lot of problems.
So everybody wants their children to succeed, and then the children are now pressured into actually succeeding because they feel being wealthy is the mark of success.
That is it.
And then they go to any length.
Exactly. Modernly, this is what really is happening. This is what is happening.
I think that is one of
the major problems. The social pressure.
If you love a child, you definitely want the best for them.
Exactly.
But that social pressure.
That is it.
Is one of the major effects.
That is it.
Now, to an aspect that is actually rarely looked at, that is it more common? This helicopter parenting, is it more common in certain cultures or among educated parents?
Yes, you find that it is more among educated parents. Educated parents, elites, yes, the middle class and the upper class. It's more common simply because they have succeeded. They equally want their children to succeed.
They want them to even
surpass them. So because of that, you find out there are a lot of hovering. Do this, if what you do this, they have a lot of control. This is why, one thing. Unlike, of course, where you find that those parents are not highly educated, no problem, they allow you to live and then they move on. And this is the problem. But then for the educated parents, some of them, not all, you find that there's so much control of their children and it becomes a problem. However, you can equally have it in some cultures. There are some cultures that value competition, culture that value achievements, culture that value reputation. You find that in some type of cultures. And that's why you find that when you go to the West, you find that these are, sometimes even in Nigeria, there are, I won't mention tribes. There are tribes like that. Those tribes, you find that they value competition, they value reputation, they value achievements. So you find that this type of culture, if you see the way and manner, really they handle their children, you know definitely they hover over them. That's it. So this is in essence,
the level of education and even the culture. Your cultural background actually affects
the way and manner you really raise your children. Not all among the educated, but there are some educated you find that they are very liberal because of the way they go. And one thing again, I've forgotten to say, is that some parents, why they do that is because when they are coming up, they face a lot of hardship. They don't want their children to fall the same. That's one thing.
And one thing they forget is that those hardships
Yes.
actually made them who they are.
That's what we're saying. But they don't want.
And they are depriving their children of actually
no parents will want to do that. Like somebody was telling you, said, well, you find out today formally when you want to go to school, you trek to the school and you come back. Even now, if it's just a stone throw here, if the children you find that you bring it in the car or you get a canapé, they don't want any hardship on their children. So because of that hardship, they equally don't want their children, and therefore you find that they resorted to this type of overboard.
This go overboard and go out of their way to
exactly.
Shield them from any struggle at all.
Thank you very much.
And then forgetting that the end result is usually relaxed,
Yeah,
lazy,
exactly. That is true. Yes. Because at the end of it all, you find out, like you said, they become dependent children. They can't take decisions on their own, and the end of it, they are not living the life they're supposed to live.
Yes, I remember one incident. I was actually tutoring a child, and I asked her mates could spell words, 5 letters,
Exactly.
and that was the first day. So I wanted to test her ability, and I asked her to write 10 2-letter words.
That's all right.
And when I turned, I just saw her. And I was...
What is the problem?
What is it? It's too much. And I was like she felt...
Yes.
I gave her a very humongous task.
That is it.
Because she's used to not doing
anything. Thank you. That's the problem. That's how it happens.
Exactly.
That's exactly what happens. Because at home, somebody will do it for her. They don't want her hair.
Everything. You know, the brain. And one thing is that if the brain functions more when you use it more.
Exactly. That's what parents don't know. Many parents.
Children need to be in the room to exercise, not just their body,
exactly, but even their brain. It's very important.
But the parents now, they don't allow the children to exercise their body because most of the times you see a child that's old enough to go to school, but when they are bringing him to school, the father carries him
everything.
The mother holds the lunch bag
thank you very much.
And the bag.
Thank you very much.
A child that is old enough
exactly.
to be able to at least walk.
That's what I say. In the past, this is not done like that.
You don't.
Your parents will just prepare you and then prepare and say, "Oh, bye-bye until you come back." And he will go carry his bag and then go to school. When he comes back, you find that children at that time, when they come back, because since the teachers gave them an assignment, gave them an example, they will just do the exam, they will do it. Thank you very much. That's it. So this is stronger. That's it. Nobody is saying that parents shouldn't monitor. Look at their book, but then allow them to do it themselves. Guide them, because guidance is part of parenting. But when you over-control them, then it becomes a problem entirely. That's it.
This has really been an enlightening session. Thank you very much, Alhaji.
Thank you very much.
For those wonderful insights.
Thank you very much.
It has truly been enlightening. Every parent wants the best for their child, but balance is the key. Join us next time as we delve deeper into the topic helicopter parenting. I remain your host, Amina Kasia here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.